Join us for The Woman and the Word.
I wanted to tell him about some of the things going on in my life. And I wanted to ask him why he hadn't come to see about me. It had been so long, in fact, I was sure he wasn't where I remembered. He's probably gone, I concluded. But I was going anyway. When I arrived, I noticed that the door was slightly opened as if he were expecting company. Well, I didn't know whose company he was expecting, but he was getting mine today. Oh, I'll knock. Once. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. When I found him, he was sitting at a table in an otherwise empty room with his head down. I announced my arrival. Hello, I said. He took a deep breath and pulled his hands away from his face, placed them firmly on the table, and pushed the chair back before finally turning to acknowledge me. And the first thing I noticed was how exhausted he looked. His eyes were red-rimmed as if he'd recently been crying, and his face reminded me of the side of a mountain, eroded after years of seasonal downpours. He motioned for me to join him at the table, sitting across from him in a chair, and I must admit I was a little apprehensive. I didn't know if whatever it was making him look so sick might not still be in the room. Asbestos or some kind of airborne disease. I hovered over the chair a few minutes before I decided it was safe enough to sit down. Are you okay? I asked. Did I come at a bad time? He gave me a weak but pleasant enough smile before he responded. No, you're fine. It's just been He looked past me out a window that was directly behind me before continuing, and he said, it's just been a very long day. I had other questions, but I decided it would be best that I just go on with the reason for my arrival. Look, I know you know what's been going on in my life, right? Your people have been running in here telling you everything I've been doing, everything that's been happening to me. And just like that, I swear his complexion got 3 shades lighter. It looked like he was flickering off and on like a faulty light switch. What is wrong with you? I said. He shrugged his shoulders and put his head down and said, I am what I am. I'm sorry if that bothers you. It's out of my control. But to answer your question, yes. I know all about what you've been going through. He put his head down, shook it slowly back and forth before saying, I tried to call you, but you never answered. When he raised his head to look back at me, something out that window caught his attention, and I don't know what it was, but it made his eyes grow large. I had to see what it was that had gotten that kind of response from him. And out on the front lawn were the largest men I'd ever seen, dragging large beams of wood across the front yard. Wood as tall and as long as the house. What in the world are you planning on building? You must be planning quite the renovation. What are you going to build with all of that wood? As I looked at him, I noticed fresh beads of sweat forming over his brow. He looked nervous. He didn't answer me right away. Instead, he said, "Do you remember when I came into your life? Do you remember that day? The day I accepted you as my own? Do you remember?" A smile broke out across his face. And I vaguely remember how at one time it was the most beautiful expression imaginable. But today it just hung on his face like a crooked portrait. It just seemed very out of place. He ignored my look of disgust and continued pushing me. "Do you remember how excited you were to come in here every morning, and you would lay at my feet and you would thank me for loving you and for forgiving you? Do you remember how happy you were? You would come in here every morning and challenge me to challenge you. Do you remember?" I had to cut him off. It seemed like the more he talked, the worse he looked. How could he sit here in my presence and no longer care that he wasn't appealing? He kept pushing. "Do you remember how you wanted me to give you things, to give you blessings, and to lift you up and to carry you?" I had to cut him off. That's enough. What does that have to do with what's going on out there? You don't hear all that construction, all that banging? It's driving me crazy, and you sitting there as if nothing is happening. Okay, you want to play this game? We'll play the game. We'll play. I remember all of that. I remember it all. But that was before you let me down. He looked up at me, pleading, fresh beads of sweat running down his face. "Please," he said, "I don't have much time. Please sit down." Plopped back down in the chair like a spoiled child. He reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. He said, "I know how painful it was for you. I know how scared you were. But you must believe me. There was no other way. There was no other choice. I never said there wouldn't be sorrow. I never promised you there wouldn't be pain. I stood up again. I just couldn't keep looking into his sad eyes. Instead, I chose to dive headfirst into a pit of painful memories and dark nightmares that seemed to never end. You let the hard times get too hard. And you seemed to disappear every time trouble came. I wondered why at first, but then it dawned on me, you're just like everybody else. Ain't nothing special about you. You let them rob me, rape me, molest me, and you did nothing. People died that you could have saved. You could have. Revelation washed over me like an ocean wave, almost taking me under. You could have prevented it altogether. And you never came. I called called you and you never answered me. Why didn't you answer me? He said nothing. He just flinched. Crazy stuff started happening to me. Stuff that made no sense. Never smoked a day in my life and I ended up with cancer. I was faithful. And he cheated on me. Left me. I looked like a fool. Praying, fasting, believing, decreeing, declaring, setting the atmosphere for your people and preaching with a busted lip and black eye. I did everything you told me to do. I did everything you told me to do, and I did it religiously. And you still took my child. I begged you. I begged you, don't take my mother. Don't take my mama. That's all I got. I begged you, and you still let her die and save somebody else from the exact same thing. Wouldn't have stopped any of your goodness to let my daughter survive. Wouldn't have taken one day from your greatness. Ooh, I was angry. I was angry, and it was pouring out of me now like a leaky faucet left unattended. I wanted to hit him. I could hear my memories chanting like unruly children in a schoolyard. Hit him, hit him, hit him. And I wanted to, but instead I just slapped him with my words. I asked you, what verse do I have to read? What do I have to pray? How long do I have to go out? How long do I have to live? Just bring him back to me. Don't let the police come to my door. Not with that news. Not with that news. Not when I just heard her son came home okay. Don't tell me. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. But you did nothing. You didn't come when I called. Why didn't you answer? He winced. Said nothing. I noticed that bruises were starting to form on his cheek and chest. Little trickles of blood started to appear around his lip that was suddenly busted and swollen. See, this wasn't about venting. I wanted revenge. Didn't care that his eye was starting to darken. I didn't care that his nose was starting to drip blood. I didn't care. I continued. That's why I left you. That's why I stopped coming. Oh, it wasn't easy at first. People would stop me on the corner and say, "Oh, aren't you prophetess so-and-so? Aren't you pastor so-and-so? Oh, girl, when I heard you preach, you brought heaven down. Oh, it's because of you I decided to give my life to the Lord." I said, "Oh, wait a minute. No, nope. You got me mixed up with somebody else. That is not me. I don't even know who you're talking about. I don't believe in that foolishness. I don't even know who that is." Did you hear what I said? Stood in front of him and placed my palms firmly on the table, making sure that we had eye contact. Did you hear what I said? I pretended like I never even knew you. He didn't say anything. He just shuddered. Yeah. I figured out that I had to do what I had to do. Keep a roof over my head and clothes on my back. You wouldn't believe what I did. I know you said these things was wrong, but they stopped feeling wrong after a while. I discovered that other ways work just as well as your ways did. And you didn't do anything about it. You couldn't stop me. Just like you didn't stop the doctor from telling me I had to choose between pulling the plug or letting them suffer. I didn't get a chance to choose whether or not I wanted this child. And Tucker, I didn't get a chance to say, why doesn't Daddy love me and he accepts the other 10? I didn't get a chance. You didn't ask me how I felt about it. You didn't care when they shoved me in closets and rejected me and beat me, abandoned me. You didn't care. You didn't care. You just left me. I finally plopped back down in the chair like a capsized boat. Empty. Nothing left. No hope. No. Finally, a small glimmer of light raised its tiny hand and requested an opportunity to speak for itself. It had something it wanted to say. It had a word it wanted to say to the word. Why me? Why did you let it happen to me? Why did you let them leave me? Why me? He stared at me. His lip was split in places and his beard looked snatched. His hair was disheveled and sweat had made it back towards his forehead, and he was trying desperately to speak. And every word that came out of his mouth sounded like it was being pressed out of him, as if a heavy weight was now laying on him. I know how scared you were. I know how terrified, how long the nights and dark the days, I know. But it was small in comparison. In comparison to what? In comparison to what I took for you. What are you talking about? You weren't there. You were never there. I was there, he said, standing up. Stumbling across the floor, trying his best to regain his composure, but was unable to. Something had bruised his legs and his arms, and he was having a really hard time standing. But he tried so hard. I was there. Every blow they put on you, they put on me first. They beat me day and night because I wouldn't let go of you. They were trying to beat you out of my grasp, to beat you out of my hands, but I wouldn't let go. I was there. Day and night, I was there. I suffered with you. I labored with you. I breathed into you. I was there. I steadied the doctor's hands. I was there. I got the diagnosis before it was too late. I was there. Every treatment, I was there. I was there. Every time they came in that room and you heard those steps, I took you to a quiet place. I was there. They were trying to kill you, to ruin you, to destroy you. But I reminded your spirit of the purpose I had for you, and I kept you alive. I was there. I was there. I was there. I was there every time they hit you. They hit me harder. Every blow that was intended to be your last, I took it. I was there. I pulled you out of the car wreck. I pulled you out of the burning building. I pulled you out before it was too late. I resuscitated you. I was there. I was there. I gave you strength to hold mama's hand. I was there. I was there. I was there. I am the one who told you to go to the doctor. Right as the enemy tried to wrap the cord around the baby's neck, I said, get up and go, girl. I was there. I pulled you out of the relationship right before he had planned to kill you. I was there. When Daddy walked away and said you weren't his, I said, he's mine. I was there. I was there every time I was there. Every time they came at you, they came at me worse. Don't you understand? They didn't care about who was leaving you and what you had left. This was not about love. This was about life. They wanted your life. They wanted you dead. They hoped the pain would kill you. I was there. I was there. Taking every blow meant to destroy you, meant to take you up out of here, separate you from me all eternity. I was there. Taking on my back what would have destroyed you forever and left you with life's temporary remains. I was shook by this. I didn't know what to think. I was confused. There's no way this could be true. I remember every time. I remember when I was going through, I was by myself. The room was dark and I knew I didn't have any. What is he talking about? He was there. And then before I could even speak, there was banging at the door. Loud banging as if the whole house was shaking. And I turned to see who was at the door and caught what was outside the window, and out on the front lawn, as tall as it was wide, was a cross. What is this for? I asked him. What is this about? He slid to the floor, his eyes completely swollen shut now. His clothes were tattered. He was a mess of a man. What is this for? He struggled just above a whisper and he said, it is written. Once you have loved me and then rejected me, it is as if I am crucified again. Wait a minute. You're saying I'm doing this? I'm not doing this. Come on. Stop. Get up. Get up. I'm not doing this. You can stop this. The banging got louder and louder and louder and louder. Stop this. You can stop this. Get up. Get up. You can stop this. Don't do this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And bang! They burst through the door. And they stood there looking like ravenous wolves, teeth dripping like venom from their lips, and hatred and murder in their eyes. They raced past me to grab at him. He was just laying there helpless on the floor, and they were pulling at him, and he just let them take him. He didn't fight. He didn't do anything. No, wait a minute. Stop it. Let him go. Let him go, I said, and I screamed, and they ran right past me, through me, out the door, and I raced after him. I wanted to save him. I tried to grab his hand, and it slipped through my fingers, and I couldn't do anything, and I ran, and I couldn't do anything, and I got outside, and I screamed for them to let him go. But he was gone. It was all gone. The cross, the house. There was nothing. Nothing but the faint sound of a hammer hitting a nail. I decided one day I was going to pay a little visit to someone I hadn't seen in a long time. When I arrived, I noticed that the door was slightly opened, as if he were expecting company. And he was. My company.
Join us for The Woman and the Word.